Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, on a beautiful May the 16th, 2019, Grando Deportes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, it's getting hot down here, so I think I might have to take off all my clothes to do the show. That way I can be free.
It's too much information. They call it TMI, the young kids, Big C, but it's all fair in love and war. There's a lot of golfers out there, and they feel like they're being undressed by getting a bad start, but it's all fair in love and war. We know we'll have more going on. Bethpage Black. We love NBA basketball. Fantastic game last night, watching what happened with Toronto and also them good old boys from Milwaukee. What a great game back and forth. And then we have another part two for Golden State in Portland tonight. That's going to happen in Oakland, California. So we'll see what happens there. It's all fair in love and war. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. So Big C, I know we talk so much about things that are going on in golf, things that are going on in basketball because it's that time of year, but we mentioned what happened yesterday with the Jets fired their front office with Mike McCanahan, and it's also the GM and Director of Player Personnel, and I want to get your feeling. They haven't even started the season. They're already letting people go. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, this was a striking move yesterday that the Jets decided to clean house. Owner Woody Johnson, who is now a U.S. ambassador, I think he might have lost touch with the team in a way, being out of the country, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you think about this strange move of getting rid of your GM and Director of Player Personnel, this is after you've had this guy on board, Charlton, for the draft, for free agency. And all of a sudden, he's the guy also who brought in Adam Gates, who is the head coach, who is now the acting general manager of the team. And Adam Gates' first, new business today is that he traded a former #1 draft pick linebacker to the Kansas City Chiefs. So, now not only are they dismantling the front office, Adam Gates feels that it's his duty to dismantle the team. Now, you got to realize, when he was in Miami, he was only 23 and 25 as a head coach in the NFL. This was a guy who hitched his wagon to Ryan Tannehill. Not only that, he gave your buddy Jay Cutler $10 million.
It's just $10 million.
To do nothing. And so I'm wondering if that's the next move that he's going to do, is sign Jay Cutler to be the backup quarterback in New York. Jay didn't mind stealing $10 million in Miami. He can come to New York and steal another $10 million.
Well, in Miami, they begged him to play. He said he didn't want to play anymore. They gave him, less than $10 million at first, and then up the ante to $10 million. What guy wouldn't get off the couch for $10 million? Big C, your thoughts on that one?
Well, Jay Cutler did, and that's all he did was get off the couch, because he did not produce. I mean, there were plenty of other quarterbacks out there that were available in the NFL. But, this is a strange move that the Jets have done all of a sudden. Here's Adam Gates, who was not successful in the same division. Not that he was outside the division. This is the same division that he was coaching in, and could not win in that division while he was in Miami. Now you move up north to New York, you still have the same teams in that division that you're going to be facing, Charlton. Mainly New England, okay? You got Buffalo still there. Now you got to go back to Miami, and there's going to be some bitter taste left in the mouths down in Miami. And how will the Jets respond to him? How many players will he bring from the Miami Dolphins that he had down there that were not successful to New York?
Interesting also yesterday when the Giants coach came out and said about his first-round quarterback, I think it was yesterday or earlier this week, that he may start him after 3 years of sitting on the bench. And there's some players that he could have got in the draft that would help him now, but that's part of what's going on in New York. Why such a lot of dysfunction going on in the whole state of New York, from Buffalo and their quarterback and coach situation, and now you have the Giants, when they draft a quarterback and they're saying this is our guy, and then a couple of weeks later, after throwing the ball around and they can actually see it for a change, they say, well, he may be a 3-year project. And now what's going on with the Jets, Big C? Do you feel there's something about that whole East Coast, they're trying to outdo the other and going downhill. Big C, your thoughts?
You know, when you were looking at the draft and free agency, you figured that the Jets had got it right over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Last year, they got their quarterback of the future. The year before that, they got a stalwart at defensive lineman. This year, they got another stalwart on the defensive line, Charlton. You figured that the organization was on firm footing.
Yeah.
They picked up Le'Veon Bell in free agency. So they said they got help for Darnold.
Yep.
They had help on defense. Now, all of a sudden, you get rid of your key personnel in the front office, and now you're competing with the Giants again for the worst team in New York.
Yeah, and that's a shame because football is America's game. I know they used to say baseball is America's pastime. Basketball is great, too, but football is something about football that just unites people, and I know they'll figure it out somehow, Big C, but what does that do when you look at New York? You have the Jets, and you have the Giants, obviously the two teams that are NFC, AFC, but then Buffalo's in the AFC. When you look at what Washington has done, I think Washington is in position to challenge Dallas and Philadelphia more than the New York Giants are. And the Jets, they're really no closer to challenging New England than, say, someone like Miami, or do you think that's a fair enough statement? Your thoughts?
No, Charlton, they're not in the position to challenge the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots are like the Golden State Warriors. They are the champions until they lose, and they've done it for over a decade. I mean, everybody has chased New England in the NFL for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
You know, I think of a statement that Odell Beckham made a week ago that the Cleveland Browns were going to be the New England Patriots of the NFL. Well, hell, he's not even in all-season workout.
Yeah, he's not even there.
Bill Belichick doesn't stand for that.
Yeah.
And then people say, well, Tom Brady doesn't always attend. Yeah, but Tom Brady has 6 Super Bowl rings on his fingers.
6 Infinity
He's like, hold these for me, Odell. Okay?
You're saying that, yep, that's true, Big C. Go right ahead, sir.
So when you have an establishment of success, you can't compare yourself to that when you've never done anything.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the Giants, you look at the Jets in the NFL, in the AFC, and in the NFC.
Yeah.
Neither one of these teams have done anything to excite their fan base over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, people still talk about Eli, but Eli's a pass-gone entity when it comes to productivity in the NFL. And you have a GM that's saying, well, you know, Dave Gettleman, that we feel that he can be productive for the next 2 or 3 years. Yes, he can.
Yeah.
Every defensive back in the NFL is looking forward to what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's proven for what happened last year. He did throw for over 4,000 yards last year, but we know some of the production fell off. Do you feel that, listen to this, even the New York market, the only functional team right now out of New York, would you believe the Brooklyn Nets? I mean, you could say the Yankees are productive. The Mets, no one can really count on the New York Mets. The Islanders, they're a good hockey situation for that the whole state of New York. But when you come out of that whole New York, New Jersey area, it's really only the rising team would have to be the Brooklyn Nets. No one would expect that to be more than Buffalo. No one would expect that more than the Nets would be more than Buffalo and more than the Yankees. The Yankees are still there, but as far as playoff teams having success, I still like what the Nets are doing. You would never think that's the case when you have the Giants in town and the Jets in town. Why has the pendulum swung so far, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, you know, the dynamics of sports has changed over the years, Charlton. You can get an instant fix in professional sports. That's what the Nets did.
Yeah.
They did it through free agency. That was the process that they trusted.
Yeah.
They went out and got the best available guys that they could afford, Charlton, and they made some moves, and they made the playoffs. They were an up-and-coming team in the NBA East.
Yeah.
You know, they were a 6th seed at one point in the playoffs. And so they faced the Sixers, you know, in the first round, which was a tough road for anybody.
Yeah, that's
and they were just
tough.
outmanned physically.
Yeah.
So when you look at that greater metropolitan area of New York and the teams are there, some of the most loyal and knowledgeable fans in the sports world are there in that mecca of New York.
Yeah.
And so you can't slight these fans and tell them something that they don't actually see.
Yeah.
They live and breathe sports as well as any sports program in America in New York. You get that on the streets, you get it on the subway, you get it in the barbershop, you get it in the delis. When you're in New York, you're in the mecca of intelligence when it comes to sports fans.
You know, ironically, when you think about that great Northeast, you would think New York, like people say, why won't the Rat come to New York, or Zion Williamson, or even LeBron James? That was a story last year. Guarantee you LeBron James is going to go play for the New York Knickerbockers. Not the case. You go a little bit further up north into Massachusetts, and just think about how the rival of the Yankees and the Red Sox, Big C. But if you look at Boston, that whole area, the Patriots, they've outdone anything that the Jets, the Giants, and the Bills have done. You look at the Red Sox, I would say over the last 10 years, they're on par, maybe last 15 years on par with what the New York Yankees have done. Definitely better than the Mets. The Boston Celtics, they've won a championship. The Nets haven't even been in the championship game. Last time it happened with the Nets, we lost to the Lakers, Big C. But even the Boston Bruins, they're better than the Islanders. So why going up further north are they having success, but in a smaller media market than New York, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, when you look at media market means nothing anymore when it comes to sports.
Yeah.
Everything is about networks and cables. Everybody has their own broadcast modems, and you can reach anybody.
Yeah.
When you speak about those 4 professional organizations in the Boston, New England area, they have all won a championship in the last decade.
Yeah.
Multiple championships for some of them, Charlton.
Yeah.
So that you talk about the productivity of a region. I think it has a lot to do with the players and where they're living.
Yeah.
When you look at the outside influences that detract from what a player can become. When you look at the 2 largest media markets in New York and in Los Angeles, look at the composite of those teams. They're young, Charlton.
Yeah. Yep.
They have distractions. You have instant millionaires with casual time.
Yeah.
And so they're not all dedicated to the games as they once were. Social media has become a huge distraction amongst young professional athletes now. They want everybody to know what they're doing and where they are.
Yeah.
If they put as much time and emphasis in developing their career as they do their social structure, Charlton,
Yeah.
you'd see a much better run organization. But as management persists today, there's little that you can do to stop players from doing what they do.
Yeah.
It's like, there was a coach one time that told us, and look, you don't have to work out in the off season at our facility.
Right.
You're not required to. And this was before they have the agreements that they have now, with the mandatory off-season workouts and all those things.
Yeah.
But he also made the statement, you don't have to work out here. But if you plan on making the team, you need to be here.
You need to be here, yeah.
So, I mean, you were not forced to be there.
Yeah.
He gave you the option. If you wanted to be a part of the organization, then you would take part in the off-season workouts at the team facility.
Yes.
But if you didn't want to be a part of the organization, he had no obligation to keep you even.
Yep. Well, when you hear what you just said, and we talked about that Northeast region, why is there still this belief that if players want to make it big, they talked about Sam Darnold out of the USC Trojans program a couple of years ago, if he goes to New York, that's going to help him succeed because the limelight and all of this potential, and he even leading the league in interceptions. Even the Pac-12 at the time at USC led that conference of interceptions, doing the same thing in the Jets over there in the AFC East. And you talk about any player, whether it's Durant, Zion Williamson, last year LeBron James, they've been talking about, whatever player was out there, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, they keep saying they're going to go to New York. But as we just said, something that many people never even think about, the most successful teams in the Northeast region outside of the New York Yankees, they don't play in New York. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they don't. But, the media is always pushing this hype of certain markets because they like to visit those markets.
Yeah.
You tell me which guys in the media and broadcast want to be spending time in Oklahoma City. What guys, San Antonio's been there forever, winning championships. But when you look at these small markets that you have to go into and broadcast games, the game in Milwaukee, what type of mecca is that? People go to Chicago to do the work, then they just go into Milwaukee for the game.
Yeah.
That's what they do from a media perspective.
Yep.
So when you're hitting these middle-of-the-road markets, and there's more small market teams in the NBA than there are large market teams in the NBA.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And the NBA has constantly tried to funnel players to the larger markets for perception on television,
yeah,
for marketing. This is what you want to see. Look at Portland. They're in the Western Finals.
Yeah.
Look how small a market Portland is, Charlton. They're in the Western Finals.
Yeah,
you had Denver, which wasn't much larger than Portland.
Right.
So when you look at just the marketing, but when you talk about Golden State, you're looking at the Bay Area. You're looking at Oakland, San Francisco. They look at it as one lump market together, Charlton.
Yeah.
You look at Los Angeles, regardless of the teams that are in Los Angeles, the same way. When you talk about New York is its own separate market from Buffalo.
Yeah.
Buffalo just happened to be in the state. It's not in New York.
Yeah.
It just happened to be in the state. It might as well say Rochester or Syracuse.
Yeah.
When it comes down to that.
Yeah.
But, this is what the media looks at. They want to be in a place where they're comfortable, where they got the bright lights shining on them when they're doing a game. When you look at the Eastern Conference Finals, in the NBA.
Yeah.
Look at Toronto. Beautiful Mecca City, but
Gorgeous.
It's not part of the U.S.
Right.
It's up north, way up north.
Yeah.
And then when you look at Milwaukee, I mean, what's in Milwaukee other than the Bucks and the Brewers?
Bucks and Brewers.
There's nothing else to do there. Tallest building in town, probably 12 stories.
It's actually 50. It's actually 55 stories, the tallest building in Milwaukee. I was looking at that. I said 55 stories. They sell only so they can see Canada, Big C. That's the only reason you know.
Well, that way you can cash out on the lake and see what the fish is swimming at. Up there, just get above the snow.
Well, Fonzie, happy days. They were from Milwaukee, and for African American men. When you saw what happened to that basketball player, just going to get some cough syrup, and he was slammed to the ground, but they keep saying that Giannis, and they even call Giannis the freak, and I hate that. That's such an insult to his parents. He's a young man, a very handsome man, might even make the Big C best men, what's it called, the Big C calendar, sports calendar for good-looking men, and women and men can all choose what they like, but I think Giannis might make that. So congratulations, whatever happens in the world of New York and how they can lure people in there. And I still don't understand what's going on with the Jets and the Giants organization. Big C, I know you like swinging golf clubs, and you think about Bethpage Black. You think about all the great golfers that are still hyped about Tiger Woods winning his 5th green jacket at the Masters. And Koepka, that good old boy, he shot a 63. He ties a PGA mark, and he set a course record while people are still thinking about Tiger. And we know Tiger had that incident with his restaurant, so that might have gotten him off his game some more than more people thought. But when you come in as Koepka, you shoot 63, you tie a PGA mark and the course record. That's amazing, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Brooks Koepka was favored going into the tournament, Charlton. He's favored by all the odds makers to win this. I mean, people are living off Tiger, what he did at Augusta, but, Tiger hasn't done anything in between it. He hasn't gone out and played. So, I mean, he needs to put in a call to Allen Iverson and talk about practice. That's what he needs. He needs to practice. That's what he needs to talk about is practice. And that's Tiger's Achilles heel. As great as Tiger has been in the past, Tiger refuses to compete when he feels that it's not important for him. Tiger's like the major markets when you're talking about sports. All the sports writers. Well, we want to talk about the big markets. We want to talk about San Francisco. We want to talk about Los Angeles. We want to talk about New York. That's how Tiger is. If it's not a major, Tiger doesn't want to take part in it. But Tiger's game suffers from that because he's not getting enough swings in on the course, Charlton, enough practice rounds. And as a golfer, you consistently have to practice. When you look at the NBA games that went on last night and tonight, those players after practice is over, they have a goal to make 150 shots. After practice, not during practice. This is after practice. After practice. Tiger Woods is not doing that. He might go out and play a practice round or two before the tournament. But he's not playing consistently throughout the week. I know Tiger has a lot of interest in a lot of entities that he's involved in. But if he plans on capturing these records on the PGA Tour, Charlton, he's his own Achilles heels because he's not putting in enough effort when the camera's not on.
When you think about 72 at this course, is a roller coaster round for Tiger Woods. Obviously, even if he doesn't win again until the summertime, that Masters is still going to hang around. But I know, ironically, everything was rolling. Well, you know what it's like when you're down on your luck, people kind of ignore your phone call and don't roll and really talk to you and try to avoid you. And then you win the lotto or you win the Masters. And even POTUS wants to hang out with you golfing. Have you noticed since Tiger's been hanging out with POTUS and all that negative mojo, he's had a lawsuit against him based on the tragedy at his restaurant. And now he's struggling just to hit the golf ball after winning the Masters, Big C. That make any sense? Your thoughts?
Well, he might be just as toxic as one of the Kardashian chicks, when you think about hanging around with POTUS. Who knows when he took his hand, what he put on his palm. So, that he might want to go in there and get some hand sanitizer.
Some sanitizer. I was nervous for Tiger when POTUS stood behind him and put that noose around his neck, or whatever it was. I think it was another, but it looked like a noose. I was having flashbacks to like Django, even the movie Roots. I'm not even being flippant, knowing the past of what POTUS has said about people of color. And there's Tiger down there acting like he doesn't read. And now he can't hit a golf ball to save his life, it seems, Big C. So also in that tournament, you look at Lee, who's -6. You have Fleetwood, -3. And then there's a couple of other players that are going to come up over the weekend. Tiger will most likely make the cut. But I also think this is true. I think that there was so much pressure on Tiger to get that 5th green jacket. It's kind of like his Super Bowl for most golfers. Everything else is not going to be as enticing, even though we want it to be. Like you said, he doesn't practice enough, and Allen Iverson talked about that. Give me your feeling. I think Tiger still knocks out another major this year, and he already has one. I think he'll get another one. Will he get 3? Maybe not, but 2 for sure, I think. Give me your thoughts on that, Big C.
Well, Charlton, all great competitors like to compete when you think about that, but you got to put in the work.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's living on what Tiger did in the past. You look at the distance between his last major and the one before that, we're talking about a decade.
Yeah.
That's a long time. So if he has to wait another decade, Charlton, to try to get another major, he's not going to accomplish that feat.
Yeah.
But accomplishing that feat is Tiger's own lack of ingenuity as far as getting out there, recreating his game on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah.
You have to play more tournaments as you get older.
Yeah.
You know, your body has changed, the courses has changed, the competition has gotten better. Well, when you look at everybody on the leaderboard, Charlton, they were playing last week in a tournament.
Yeah.
So they're keeping their game sharp. They're knowing how to compete against other competitors. You know, the nerves when you're playing a professional sport, it's the mental skills that you possess.
Yeah.
Everybody that's a professional has great tools in their particular sport. But the difference that separates the great athletes is that mental.
Yeah.
It's 90% mental in all professional athletes. 10% of it is athletics and knowing what you're doing. But you see Tiger struggling. You see the frustration on Tiger's face. That's mental, Charlton. There's nothing wrong physically with Tiger.
Yeah.
It's mentally what's wrong with Tiger.
Well, I still think he's dealing with the lawsuit, and especially the issue. That was his employee, too, so he's human.
Yeah, but you got to put your personal life behind you when you go to work.
Yeah.
Everybody in America deals with something every day. Think about if everybody stopped what they were doing when they had tragedy or problems in their life. Would this world continue to go on? No, it wouldn't. Businesses would stop functioning, Charlton. Think about an airline pilot who has a problem in his life.
Right.
And he has to get on a plane, and he has hundreds of people that he's responsible for daily, Charlton, flying across this country and around the world.
Yeah.
To think about anyone else, a train engineer, Charlton, when he's running the tracks out there, a bus driver who is driving children to school and from school back home.
Yeah.
All of these people deal with daily problems, Charlton, beyond what Tiger has dealt with. And they don't have the money that Tiger has.
Right.
So Tiger has been his own worst enemy, Charlton, because he allows the media and the public to be a part of his life. Do you hear these things about other golfers? Tiger puts himself out there, and so you got to take the bitter with the sweet.
Yeah.
And so it's been more bitter than it has been sweet in the last decade for Tiger.
Yeah. Well, I think that Masters is an anomaly from what has gone on, but I think he's still going to get on course. A lot of people would love to have his life. If you look at Fowler, he's -1. Also, Spieth -1. Dustin Johnson's -1. These were guys that were supposed to replace Tiger Woods, and they're still way off the lead when you look at what's happening with Koepka. I think Koepka has also done something. Before we go to the next subject, I want to say Koepka, if you look at his physique, he's a younger man than Tiger Woods. But who was that guy, Daly, that ate himself out of competition? And there, even Phil Mickelson, if he had a real fitness regimen where he cared about his look and how he could just build his body better like a lot of athletes do, I think he would still win, maybe even more so than he's doing now. But notice the new look golfer. They're not skinny, pencil thin. Koepka has some muscle. It's like he works out too. That's also going to help golfers play longer. I want to get your thoughts on that, Big C.
Well, Charlton, that's become the new mode of sports, is that everybody is into physics, into getting themselves physically fit. It used to be you just walk out there, have a cigarette, playing a golf club.
The old days.
That no longer happens.
No.
You know, have a beer between holes.
Right.
But, you know, now athletes think about nutrition. They think about physical exertion that they're going to do. They have personal trainers. You know, the game of sports has all changed.
Yeah.
You know, I remember playing football and being in the locker room before the game and at halftime. Got teammates in there smoking cigarettes.
Wow.
Before the game and during halftime, they're in the locker room having a cigarette.
The most unhealthy
their nerves to get out on. That doesn't happen anymore in locker rooms, Charlton.
No.
They become tobacco-free zones, but that's how the game has changed. Just this in football that was so demanding physically.
Yeah.
That players did whatever they wanted to do. It's like Skip Thomas, who used to play for the Raiders. Skip used to have to check himself into the hospital 2 days before the game. Just so he could get some rest. Skip was burning it on both ends and had a little bit of fire burning in the middle. Dr. Death. I mean, he lived like Dr. Death. So, you know, when you think about how athletes have changed overall, is that you can no longer use the libations before the game. You can no longer ingest the cigarettes before the game, Charlton. Athletes have changed on every dynamic. And if you go back and you look at black and white photos of golfers, you'll see them there with cigarettes in their mouth, standing there on the fairway. Waiting to hit the ball. That has changed. The dynamics of all professional sports has changed.
It has changed, and it's changed for the better. Speaking of changing, you think about what's happening in the NHL. You know, we talked about the San Jose Sharks, and it seems like everything goes in their favor, even if it's a mistake. And then sometimes they'll tell you, well, that you didn't really see what you saw. NHL playoffs, San Jose Sharks with the 5-4 overtime win versus St. Louis Blues. And again, officiating was part of the reason that they won. And it was such egregious that you even had players from the Blues that were throwing their clubs, you know, at the wall, at the glass, and banging on doors. And I know that we say, well, and I love this part of the sport. I like when things aren't perfect. But this thing about replay, if things are so egregious that the fans watching at home can see that the wrong call was made, but we go to the replay anyway and nothing changes for the most part, that's bad for a replay. Give me your feeling on the Sharks being lucky again, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, you know, it was a hand shove, Charlton, of a puck in overtime that got the puck to a teammate who shoved it to a second teammate who knocked it in the open net. You know, and this is the third series that the Sharks have gotten the benefit of the doubt of the officials.
Yeah.
And, you know, as we've talked about on many occasions on our show about replay and officials being involved, and even though gambling is legal all over the country.
Oh, really? I got to get involved. I got to get involved.
You know, but as we look at, I mean, replay took a huge hit again last night.
Yeah.
In a championship series.
Yeah.
Is that we are constantly seeing with our eyes what happened in real time.
Yeah.
Or even on the first replay. But then when you go back, and in the rule in hockey is that if the four officials on the ice miss it, just like in the NFC playoffs with the Rams and the Saints.
Playoffs.
If the four guys miss it on the ice, then it can't be reviewed from Toronto in hockey headquarters.
Yeah.
They can't make a decision. So why is replay there anyway?
Right.
If no one can make a decision, if somebody misses it. And I thought that's what replay was about.
Me too.
That if somebody misses the call, that you're allowed to go to replay and review it and overturn it.
Yeah.
This is what replay is supposed to do.
Yeah.
But you have all these pseudo rules that, well, because this didn't happen, we can't do this. Even though we saw that it was a hand shove of the puck that moved it into scoring position, we're not going to overturn it. Even though it changed the outcome of a game. This is the third time in the Sharks' playoff run towards Stanley Cup that it's been decided by the officials in an egregious or non-egregious call, Charles.
Big C.
So,
go ahead.
So as we look at sports, what is to be done?
Well, you can Google that Silicon Valley is one of the wealthier regions in the world, not just the United States. And I know people laugh about prop betting because they think it's just a joke, but Jimmy the Greek Snyder, just Google who he is if you're out there anywhere listening. And when things happen like that, it makes you wonder. It just makes you wonder. We talked about Boston versus New York, Massachusetts versus New York. And the Boston Bruins at Carolina, they have a 3-0 lead. That game's already underway. And this is a team, they can smell Lord Stanley's Cup. And I think the only team that can keep the Boston Bruins from drinking from Lord Stanley's Cup, it might be the good old Sharks out there in San Jose that have a thing called prop betting that people still don't believe in. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I saw when the Bruins were getting off the bus tonight.
Yeah.
They didn't have hockey sticks. They all had brooms in their hands.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what you should have the broom, what you do with it and stuff, but I think that was their plan for the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Is that they had the sweep in order.
I like
but,
that.
the Boston Bruins seem to be a team of destiny in the NHL this year, Charlton. They're up 3-0 going into the game tonight. They should sweep this series and handle the Hurricanes. I mean, the Hurricanes would have to win 4 consecutive games. Yeah. And they haven't had an answer for the Bruins offense in this series. Goalkeepers have been hot, Charlton. Yep. You know, the Carolina has changed and played multiple goaltenders in this series because they haven't had a chance to figure it out. Yeah. And I think being on their heels tonight, that this will be the final game of that series.
Well, we look forward to that. We got a big second half to come up and bring you on Big C Sports. We're going to do what's called the Big C Pause, and we'll come right back in just a moment. And I want to get your thoughts on this debate about sports and whether we should have replay or not, and all the leagues and how it's affecting it, Big C. We'll be right back in just a moment. All right, Big C, we are back on Big C Sports. You can find us worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and also Xfinity Comcast Television. You can find the Big C Sports Show. I think we are at the greatest time in sports right now because of that thing you have on your hand. That, not those infinity stones you have, Big C. I know you have 2 of them in those championship rings, but that cell phone, it gives everyone the chance to feel like a champion at something. I hear about guys telling me they took $100 into some establishment and walked out with $1,600. That's a lot of money for a couple hours just sitting around getting lucky, but there are also guys that lose money. But when you think about instant replay and how it's ruined professional sports teams, there's a debate in the NFL. Big C, there's a debate in Major League Baseball. There's a debate in NHL, and we're seeing that right now. There's also the debate in NBA. Give me your feeling on how the instant replay, it can come, but it can also go away, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, instant replay is really molded what professional sports and betting is now, Charles.
Yeah.
You think about all the professional sports that have used instant replay.
Yeah.
You realize golf used instant replay a couple of years ago, but the PGA got tired of people calling from home because of what they had saw.
Right.
And it was distracting from the
Distracting,
game.
yep.
So the PGA removed instant replay from golf because they had it.
Yeah.
The only sport that gets it right with instant replay, Charlton, is professional tennis.
Yeah.
You see a highlighted scenario of what occurred with the ball, whether it was on the line, whether it was in, or whether it was out, and you see that instantly.
Yeah.
They don't take 2 minutes to go back and review something. They run it back, they put the laser on it, and you see exactly where the ball landed.
Yeah.
You think about in football, I believe there's 40 seconds between plays now in the NFL.
Yeah.
If you have a replay in the NFL, it shouldn't take more than 40 seconds. That's all that the officials have.
Right.
They have 40 seconds to make a decision.
Yeah.
Period. The same amount of time a team has to get off a play, the official has only that amount of time to make a decision on a replay because we see it instantly.
Yeah.
It should not take 2 to 3 minutes in an NFL debate on a replay for them to make a decision. That you got to look at it from 19 angles.
Right.
You see it from 1, maybe 2 angles, but you got 45 seconds.
Yeah.
It either stands or it's overturned. That's all it is. The NBA, there is a thing called 24-second shot clock.
Yeah.
And when these officials get to the sideline, they have 24 seconds to make a decision on what they went to the sideline for.
Yeah.
They don't need to sit there and discuss it with the first and second row in the stands about what's going on. They look at the monitor. You have 24 seconds. Boom. Decision is made. You have to be efficient. If you force the players to be efficient, then you have to be the same way as an official. You need to work under the same auspices that the players have to work under.
Yeah.
When we look at Major League Baseball, they go back for a review. It's real simple in baseball. It's just like in tennis.
Yeah.
You know whether it was on the line, whether it was off the line. You see that right away. You know whether the player was tagged. It doesn't take forever in baseball to make an adjustment on a call when it's challenged.
Right.
But only in the NBA and the NFL it does. And then when we come to hockey, why the hell do you have Toronto in play that you're calling back to the league office in Toronto to ask them to chime in? They say, hey, we weren't there. There's nothing we can do. I mean, so you're telling all the fans, you're giving them the middle finger on what they just saw. That's basically what you're doing. Well, this is what we're saying to you at home in St. Louis. And so when you see these fans and they're upset over these situations that they see in real time while they're watching it on television, and then when they show the replay instantly in the arena, that all the fans recognize it. But you have officials that walk over to a monitor and have a hard time seeing what tens of thousands of fans in an arena has seen, Charlton. So maybe one of the things that needs to be changed in all the professional leagues,
what's that?
Just like in politics, is that you need to make the officials younger, the same age as the players. When you got guys in the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, when you have officials that are out there 50 and 60 years old, and I have nothing against people my age and older, okay?
Right.
I honestly don't. But there's a time in the workplace that you have to be replaced. It happens in mainstream society. It should be that way in sports. All the professional leagues should have, just like in basketball, G League, where they're developing, just like in Major League Baseball, a minor league system, where they're developing. We see that in these professional sports, Charlton. But when we look at the guys in the NBA and in the NFL, we had an NBA official that, his name eludes me, Dick Bavetta. Dick was almost 80 years old when he retired.
Still running.
He couldn't even run up and down the court. He faced You know, how is he going to keep up with the young guys? He is the spry and make the calls that he should make, Charlton.
Yeah.
And I think it should be an age limit in all professional sports on the age of the officials. You need to start training them, just like in college.
Yeah.
You train them there. You have a minor league to train them in, but I think it needs to be a cap on the time that an official can officiate in the league. There needs to be a 45, maximum 50-year cap that this guy can participate. Because when we look at these athletes, how young, how strong, how vibrant that they are, how fast they are, and you're asking an elderly man to keep up with them and make decisions, Charlton, you're asking the wrong question. And this is why we have the controversy with the replay, that the official can't get it right on the field or on the ice or on the court. You got 4 guys last night missed the call in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Then they go to the replay,
Yeah.
and they still can't figure it out.
Yeah. Like I say, the good old boys, I got some friends down in Texas, they say if you're not cheating, you're not trying. And we know the sports has its own shenanigans right now. I want to go back and defend Dick Bavetta, though. You said as an old man, it was hard to see him run up and down the court. Whatever he was taking, he's doing a better job than Frank Thomas. Frank Thomas, whatever he's taking, he's still heavy. I mean, he's a big guy, but the Bavetta ran, he could probably beat Frank Thomas and probably double the age. Big, so your thoughts?
Well, you know, Frank
What was he taking?
when he was playing. That's the reason why he left football and went to baseball.
Yeah.
You know, so you got to think about what all the guys that were at Auburn at that time were some big guys. You think about the 3 greatest athletes that came out of Auburn at that time.
Yep.
Bo Jackson, Frank Thomas, Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
All of those guys were teammates, you know,
one
classmates down at Auburn at the same time.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they all were on the other than Barkley, Thomas, and you know, Jackson played football there as freshmen.
Yeah.
But you think about the great athletes, but all of them are huge hulking men now, Charles.
Yeah, it's a great sport. I still want to know, in Mills Lane, that one of the greatest, I think, officials or referees in boxing, he was up in age, and he was doing this thing up in Nevada calling fights, Big C. I want to, when you talk about instant replay and whether we need it or not, I like the human error. All right, give them one chance. You get maybe 2. You get the chance to challenge 2 in every sport, and that's it. Let the human element be a part of it. Because if we're going to check everything, every play can be a holding call in the NFL. And in NBA, every play could really be a foul when you think about it. In baseball, Christian Yelich, 18 home runs in 41 games thus far this season. I mean, last year, it took him 101 games to get to that mark. Talk about MVP, and he's on minimum wage compared to some of these other guys that signed for $300 million. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is a guy that Derek Jeter felt couldn't build a franchise around.
Derek was right.
so he got him out of Miami.
Derek said he couldn't do it.
Down here.
Derek said he couldn't do it.
This is not what I want.
Right.
You think about it. He got rid of Giancarlo Stanton.
Yep.
Sent him to the Yankees. They had the second best record in Major League Baseball last year.
Yeah.
He sends Christian Yelich to Milwaukee.
Yep.
He did nothing but win the MVP and almost win the Triple Crown in Milwaukee. 1 game short of making it to the World Series.
Yep.
So, I mean, Derek Jeter was up for Manager of the Year last year as far as the number of players that he put in a position to win a World Championship.
Yeah.
So, but when you think about Christian Yelich, here's a guy that's up in Milwaukee, as you talk about, in this small market.
Yeah.
He's not in one of the big markets, L.A., Boston, New York.
Right.
He's not there, Charlton. He's going to work, doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
He's having fun. He's under the radar in Milwaukee, so he doesn't have the media spotlight and pressure beating him up all the time. So all he has to do is go out there and perform, Charlton, and that's what he's doing. He's being a kid all over again.
Yeah.
And you talk about 18 home runs in 41 games,
Amazing.
Charlton,
Yeah.
averaging almost a home run every other game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just an outstanding player, but because he's not your buddy in Philadelphia, Bryce Harper, who's had, I believe he's up to about 60 strikeouts now.
Counting,
in 42 games and counting.
Yeah.
You know, he has 3 times as many strikeouts as Yelich has home runs. And making 3 times as much money, Charles.
Yeah, well, in the opposite universe, that's a good deal, Big C. I just think about baseball is great, but Yelich not getting enough attention, even though he's great right now. In tonight's matchups in baseball, you look at some matchup games, the New York Mets, the METS Mets at the Washington Nationals, Milwaukee at Philadelphia. That game right there, Big C. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to compare Yelich to what that good boy Harper's doing. Oakland at Detroit. Texas is at Kansas City. You have Pittsburgh at San Diego. Minnesota at Seattle. Toronto at Chicago. And Toronto, what a great city. A lot of their teams get to just see some of the greater teams that come in and play, whether it's basketball or baseball and football with the Argonauts. You have the St. Louis. They're playing at Atlanta. Love that series. Chicago's at Cincinnati, and Baltimore's at Cleveland. Give me the feeling about, even though we're all into basketball now, Big C, which one of those games would be must-see? I would think it would have to be Milwaukee at Philadelphia, just because of the money that you're getting for Harper, but the production you're getting for Yelich. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is a showcase for Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
To see how he fares against the best player in the National League.
Yeah.
In Christian Yelich.
Yeah.
You got the most money versus the best player.
Yeah.
And right now, the best player seems to be taking advantage of the situation. So what would be the market for Yelich if he was to go on the free agent market with the numbers that he's produced over the last 3 seasons, not just the last 2 here in Milwaukee, but the year before when he was with the Marlins. I mean, he was producing at that clip. Also, he just had to happen to have Giancarlo Stanton on the team with him that hit 52 home runs.
Yeah.
So when you think about Harper, and they'll say that, well, he's pressing.
Right.
Well, he's going to be pressed tonight because he's going to look across the diamond, and he's going to see a player with the numbers that he should be having for the money that he's getting.
This might be one, but it's like he pulled his hamstring, Big C. They may say he pulled his hamstring and had to sit out a week just not to look so bad against Yelich. When you think about sports, 50 years ago, to this day, Queen of Soul, the late Aretha Franklin, she recorded her iconic album, and it was called Respect, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, and that's something that we all admire her about, that she always did what we respected. She wasn't like some of the women that sing now that were, scantily clad, and you kind of feel embarrassed if your parents or grandparents are around, but she did everything with respect, Big C. It was done in Atlantic Studios in New York City, which became the theme song, believe it or not, the theme song for the Civil Rights Movement. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it became the anthem for the civil rights. When you talk about respect, think about what you're trying to do to me.
Yeah.
This is what the Queen of Soul spoke about, because she was an active member of the civil rights. And matter of fact, the proceeds from that song went to help funding the civil rights movement, Charlton. That's how activist that she was at that time, thinking about the needs of others.
Yeah.
But also that served as an anthem for women in America, Charlton, striving for respect and equality.
Yeah.
You go back and you think about all the prominent things that were done by African-American men and women, Charlton, during that era of the civil rights, and how so many people have benefited from them, not just people of color, Charlton, but all parts of society.
Yep.
And you think about the song that Aretha sang, it resonates forever in American lore.
Yes, especially when someone's not treating you right. On this date, 39 years ago, Big C, the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Philadelphia 76ers, it was Game 6. The great Magic Johnson had 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. And if you ask yourself, what basketball player has gone on to have more success than any basketball player in the universe that's since retired, I think it would be Magic Johnson even more than the great Michael Jordan. Want to get your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, when you think about the significance of those numbers that you just reeled off, and how everybody is saying that the Warriors cannot win without Kevin Durant.
Right.
That was the same talk that everybody gave about the Lakers, that they could not win without Kareem.
Yeah.
That, here was Magic, who had just won a championship in college the year before at Michigan State versus Indiana State. Now in his rookie year, they're in a pivotal Game 6. They're up 3-2 against the vaunted Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah.
He goes out and plays center in this game, Charlton, dominates this game, and the Lakers win the championship, Charlton, gives Magic his second consecutive championship, one in college, one in professional basketball.
Yep.
But this shows the power and willingness of somebody to learn and give his all for a team, Charlton. Magic was called upon at that time to sacrifice his position and play for Cap in the middle to take the center position, even though they had a backup center on the team, Charlton.
Yeah.
Magic took the load and dominated, playing against Caldwell Jones, Daryl Dawkins in the middle, two huge men, 6'10", 6'11", natural centers in the NBA, and dominated not only with the assists and rebounds. The most important part, I mean, everybody will always talk about the 42 points.
Yeah.
But thinking about 15 rebounds amongst the trees in Philadelphia, you think about Caldwell Jones was 6'11", Daryl Dawkins was 6'10", Bobby Jones was 6'9", Dr. J was a part of that front line, Charlton.
Yep.
But this is the inevitable Magic Johnson, who will always be one of the greatest basketball players of all time anywhere.
Yeah, and from broadcast to business owner to Starbucks to movie theaters to being with all the great sports teams in Southern California. And that good old boy had played his ball in college, East Lansing, Michigan. Just an amazing history, still writing history. When you think about today, everybody wants to know who's the best player. Who's the best player in what sport? Who's an all-star player? Who's the second team? Who's the first ballot Hall of Famer? NBA basketball, Milwaukee, they beat Toronto last night. It was 108-100. Lopez dropped 29 points. Kawhi Leonard, he struggled in the fourth, but he still had a high scoring total. And then Giannis dropped in, I think he had in the mid-20s. But we were saying last night that Toronto jumped on the early Big C. It was the same thing that Boston did to Milwaukee. But they took the punches like Ali would do back in the day, and they found a way to come back. And this Milwaukee team, again, it's just one game. But because they were down by double digits and to come back and almost win by double digits, that's a 20-point swing, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about what Lopez did in this game last night, 29 points.
Yeah.
That's more points than he scored in the series altogether versus Boston.
Yeah.
So here was a guy who came out and had a coming out party last night. But all of my thoughts in this game, when I looked at Toronto, I have to look at their coach, Nick Nurse.
Yeah.
I think about Dwayne Casey when I do that. Dwayne Casey was fired last year, being swept by Cleveland, having the best record in the NBA
franchise. Yeah.
I looked at Nick Nurse. He didn't know how to utilize his bench last night in this game. Kawhi Leonard played all but 2 minutes in this game, Charlton. Kawhi Leonard. And you could see it in the fourth quarter. He couldn't score.
Yeah.
He was tired. Nick Nurse could not find the compassion or the knowledge to sit his star down and let him get a breather.
Yeah.
Let him get his legs back under. He kept him out on the floor and ran him into the ground. So when we talk about poor coaching that I've seen in 2 Eastern Conference series,
yeah,
you got the guy in Boston.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about, the next great, coach, in the NBA.
Yeah.
And then when I saw Nick Nurse, who ran Kawhi Leonard into the ground along with the rest of his starters.
Yeah.
And Lowry was the only one that was able to score in the fourth quarter. He didn't do anything in the first 3 quarters. He had 14 in the fourth last night.
Right.
But when you look at what Milwaukee did, they ran a 9-man rotation, Charlton, last night against Toronto. They ran them in the ground.
Yeah.
They were rested. I mean, I'm sitting there watching Giannis on the bench. Milwaukee didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
Because they had the fresher legs. And maybe the 5-day rest that they had, the 7-day rest that they had, really helped them out when it got to the second half, Charlton, because they were able to close the gap and dominate, win the game going away.
Yeah, you gotta know how much your players have, and it's like he had his eye in the headlights. Just like if you look at what happened to Denver. When Denver, they laid an egg against Portland, which was out of their own climate over at Mile High, and they couldn't call a timeout when they were on an 8-0 run at one time. You're at home, you don't call a timeout to stop to stem the tide, and that was Coach Malone. But everybody says, well, these are great coaches, and maybe they are. But if your fan at home can see that these guys are winded or they having a team make a big run, that's when you call a timeout. They even do that in the world of the AAU. And when you think about that, Big C, the Blazers tonight, they've been blown out twice in the last 10 days. What must they do tonight to even up the series in Oakland against the Golden State Warriors, the land of vibranium? And I really believe that Golden State is almost like, and I know guys will never admit this, but you kind of like when you're pushed off. And Steph Curry was pushed to the side by a lot of people. He's too fragile. He can't shoot. He's missing shots, can't make layups. And he became an introvert because Durant was there. I know a man may never admit that. People say, oh, they want to share the ball. But when you look at when he doesn't have to share the ball and doesn't have to share the spotlight with someone who's above him, because Thompson's considered not his equal. But Durant, they brought in the dominant alpha male. And I think no matter what people say about it, he felt that he was himself again, and the Warriors look unbeatable. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he's always felt that he was himself when Durant wasn't in the lineup. He's always himself when Durant is in the lineup. You have to understand team composite. Is that the greater need is about winning a championship.
Yeah.
The greater need to be showcased is being greedy, that you want to have it all. When you get mad, you take your ball when you're in a pickup game across the street and you go home with it.
I've done that.
Steph Curry was bigger than that.
Yeah.
Steph Curry took a page from Dwyane Wade.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget about Dwyane Wade. Dwyane Wade was the star in Miami. He helped recruit LeBron James and Chris Bosh to come there. So, guys, I need you to win again.
Yeah.
This is what he said. This is the same thing that the Golden State Warriors players did to Kevin Durant. You think there was a consensus on those players, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, that we want you, Kevin, to come in here and help us get back to the top?
Right.
We need that one more missing piece. You know, when you got jewelry, you don't have an ego. You already have the jewelry. The guy that's coming in that wants the jewelry. So you want him to feel what it's like to be on the spotlight, on stage. That's what the Warriors granted to Kevin Durant. The media doesn't understand that because most of the guys who are talking about that don't have a ring, Charlton. They haven't played in that championship mantra.
Yeah.
Golden State has had the ability, regardless of who's on the floor. And the record speaks for itself. 28-1 without Kevin Durant, with Steph Curry's in the lineup. I mean, so everybody said, well, you want to discredit that. How the hell do you discredit that? Well, you think about Steve Kerr. When Luke Walton was coaching, what were they, 42-3?
They had a better
when
record.
Luke Walton was the coach?
Yeah.
So did you discredit the 42-3 when Luke Walton was coaching it? That's how he got his job as a coach with the Lakers.
Yeah.
You know, but no one said, let's discredit, Luke Walton, even though the Warriors went on to win.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr wasn't there. So this is the same thing with Steph Curry. He didn't take a back seat. He took a complimentary seat, Charlton, is what he did. He was able to sit there and go along with the flow. All the pressure wasn't on him. You think about whenever the Warriors would lose, did the media beat up Steph Curry? No. They jumped on Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Steph Curry was able to go home, play with the kids, and not be angry. That's what he was enjoying life was about. He got the credit when they won.
Yeah.
He didn't get blamed when they lost, Charlton. And now how is the media going to attack him? Every time you bring it up, they're 28-1 going into the game tonight without Kevin Durant in the lineup, having Steph Curry in the lineup.
Yeah.
But no one really wants to harp on that. They want to say, well, we don't want to give him credit for being the leader that he is. We want to say this is Kevin Durant's team. You can say that all you want. I think all professional sports has come down to statistics and analytics.
Yeah.
And the number one statistic in all professional sports starts with a W. It's called wins, okay?
Yeah.
And the wins with Steph Curry in the lineup versus the wins with Kevin Durant in the lineup, there's a huge variance in that, chart.
Yeah.
And it's undeniable, but the media doesn't want to bring that to the equation.
Well, I think no matter what they do in this series, whether you have them or not, and just think about DeMarcus Cousins, if he can come back, if they get to the finals, and I always say if just because shenanigans happen in anything, that is a team right now. Imagine, they're still the favorites to win the NBA championship without two all-star players. What team in the NBA, in the history of the game, could you take away two all-star players and still have them be the favorite to win a championship? Does anyone cross your mind, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is the only team in the modern NBA that you can do that. I mean, what would Milwaukee be without Giannis and Bledsoe? What would they be? Look at Toronto.
Yeah.
What would they be without Leonard and Lowry?
Yeah.
Portland, what would they be without Lillard and
McCollum? Yeah. And McCollum. Yeah.
I mean, what would they be? Here is the Golden State Warriors that you've taken two integral pieces out of the lineup, Charlton. You've taken point and defensive production out of the lineup.
Yeah.
But you have the Splash Brothers that are there that just within themselves, Charlton, are an all-star team.
Yeah.
They were the greatest backcourt in the NBA over the past decade, Charlton.
Yeah.
They were the greatest backcourt. They just added Kevin Durant to their repertoire.
Yeah.
That's what they did. And since he's been down, they haven't missed a beat. But in Portland, for what they have to do, I don't know if they call Houston or not, talk to Harden and CP3.
Yeah.
And PJ Tucker, but you got to get physical with Golden State.
Yeah.
That is the only chance that they have.
Yeah.
I mean, Damian Lillard's back at home.
Yeah.
And if he wants to come back at home and play another game this season, Charlton, he's got to go rogue.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to get physical. I mean, you're talking about technical foul city, one of those and one technical fouls.
Yeah.
He's got to get that. He's got to serve notice on the backcourt of the Golden State Warriors that I'm going to be physical with you guys the rest of this series.
And
because you can get the 6 technical fouls, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because if you don't make it to the playoffs, you're not going to be suspended anyway.
Not going to be suspended anyway. Draymond Green, Game 1 versus Portland, he had 12 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. And he wasn't a dominant player on the scoreboard, but he sets everybody up to be a dominant player. So with Draymond, you actually get less you get more with less, if that makes any sense. And you've always talked about him being the most valuable player, or the engine that stirs the drink for Golden State, even though people think Durant and Curry and Thompson and maybe even, Iguodala. But give me your feelings again on how Draymond is so important to the makeup of the Warriors, Big C.
Well, Charlton, he is the reason why they survived. But when you look at those statistics that you just named off of Draymond Green,
yeah,
that left him a plus 12 for the game, okay? Plus 12 in points. Look at the point differential in the game. Take his plus 12 out of there, Charlton, and see where the game is at that point.
Yeah.
With Portland being in the heat of the thing.
Yeah.
It would have come down to the wire. But he makes a difference, not just with the statistics that you showed, Charlton.
Yeah.
But think about the defense that he plays, the presence he has on the floor, his movement, him getting other players into position, doing the switch-offs, doing the little things that don't show up in the stats box.
Yeah.
That's what Draymond Green gets. I mean, he had 5 fouls also in him in the game.
Right.
But that's also the intimidation factor on a couple of those fouls that he took. Those were a couple of hard fouls. Those fouls stop points from being scored by Portland.
Yeah, he's like Anthony Mason from back in the day. You need someone like that. I want to get your thoughts. There's, let's say, throughout sports, the greatest 6 weeks in sports for a signature event. Everybody has their own opinion, but what do you think that might be, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about the greatest 6 weeks in sports, everybody always talks about the Super Bowl, the World Series, the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Those things are not in the same city every year, Charlton. So they're not signature events. They just have to be regular occurrences.
Right.
When you talk about signature events and you talk about a 6-week run, you start with Augusta and the Masters.
Yeah.
It's there every year, Charlton. Been there 100 years. The greatest golfing event and golfing spectacle in the world. Everybody wants to be a part of it.
Yep.
You go from that, Charlton, to the Kentucky Derby, the greatest 2 minutes in sports. Every year in Churchill Downs for 145 years. It's been held at the same place.
Yeah.
Then you want to go for number 3 on my bucket list, Charlton? The Indianapolis 500. The Brickyards in Indianapolis.
Yep.
These 3 signature sporting events, Charlton, happen within a 6-week span in America. And they're going to be in the same place every year for over 100 years. You think about that you can hang your hat on it, just like it's turning high noon and it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yep.
Those 3 great sporting events are going to be in the same place every year, and they're on every sports enthusiast bucket list.
Well, that's very good, Big C. And speaking of everyone's bucket list, today marks 100 days to college football kickoff. You have Florida and Miami, they'll face off in Orlando on August 24th. There was a time that Florida didn't want anything to do with Miami back in the day just because of the way that Miami played, and they were beating up on Florida State all the time. But this one state, when you look at those 3 programs that at one time dominated college football, a lot like Auburn and Alabama has, but are there other states where you can find more than one team that dominated college football and won national championships? You have Miami, you have Florida, and then Florida State. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's really the signature state when you think about winning national championships in college football, the state of Florida. And we think about all the great athletes that have come out of that state, Charlton, Heisman Trophy winners, as well as some, signature all-time coaches that have been at those heritage universities. And to have this kickoff, and you said it's 100 days away?
100 days away, Big C.
That must be on the West Coast calendar, because it's kickoff every day for college football down here in the South.
Yeah, well, I understand every day is a kickoff. And I want to just bring up for some West Coast teams that are out there and trying to climb the mantle and how do you schedule to win a national championship game? And it's not that it's hard to do, but if you look at USC, they're lining up Fresno State to open the season. Now, this is the Fresno State team that knocked off Arizona State, that actually went to a bowl game for the first time in a long time, Arizona State, Pac-12 team, and they also beat up on UCLA. So at one time, Fresno State was the only ranked team in college football from California. The Trojans are lining them up, and I think on the schedule for Alabama, somewhere later in the season, they have the Citadel as well as Clemson. Big C, is that how you win? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at just West Coast period, there's really been nothing out on the West Coast to get excited about. I mean, the Pac-12 conference, when they opened up the season last year with their best team taking a loss down in Georgia against the University of Auburn, that really put the conference back. As far as in the hunt for the national championship. And then when it came down to the end of the season in the conference championship game, you had Washington versus Washington State.
Yep.
Washington State had the best chance of any team to get into the college football playoffs, Charlton, but they couldn't even beat a conference team to get there. When it's on the line for all the marbles, that your conference best cannot get over the hump.
Yep.
If that's what you had at Washington State. They lost the home game, Charlton, to a state rival and knocked the whole conference out of playoff contention.
Yeah, that's true. Big C, the last thing I wanna just bring up, because I know people love sports in all areas. There's a story on applenews.com. It's about the cost of youth sports in America. It's a $17 billion industry. And you have so much pressure being put on young teenage boys to be the cash cow, maybe for their families or for some unrealistic parent. It's a $17 billion industry. Youth sports alone. Some parents push their kids so hard, and they'll never make it because there's only 1% that are going to make it pro anyway in sports. But $17 billion, Big C, that's a lot of money. Imagine if that was pushed into academics, Big C. Your thoughts?
I think you think 1% of 1%, Charlton, is going to make it as a professional athlete when you think about the millions of young men and women who play professional college and high school sports here in this country.
Yeah.
And I've constantly been an advocate for academics, is that parents look at the wrong path because you get to see certain players on television.
Yeah.
You know, we're watching the NBA playoffs. Each one of these teams have 12 players, Charlton, on their lineup. 12 players.
Yeah.
Each one of these teams. So, I mean, that's 48, I believe.
Right, yeah.
48.
Yep.
We had 65, 68 underclassmen declare for the NBA draft. There's 48 NBA players left playing over the next 2 days.
Yeah.
And so any parent who's egregious enough to think that, my son's going to be the next greatest, I never wanted my kids to play sports because it was too much of a mountain for them to climb to do what Dad had done. So I never wanted to put that pressure on them. Go out and achieve academically. That's where no one can hold you back.
Yeah.
You're not competing against anybody academically other than yourself.
Yeah.
You're not sitting there with a locker room full of other guys sweating and smelling, saying, I'm better than you.
Right.
Academics, Charlton, is all about the mind. It's not about the physicality. It's about how long you want to be in a profession. You can go out and deal and do well in academics, Charlton. There's plenty of six-figure jobs out there in American society because people were scholar students.
Yeah.
And they achieved. And they worked for 30, 40 years in those professions, Charlton, and didn't have any torn ligaments.
Yeah.
Didn't have any broken bones.
No CTE.
Didn't have any concussions.
Yeah.
Well, they might have fallen off a bar stool. I think
they could have done that too, yeah.
But when you look at it and you want to compete, people should be taught to compete with their minds, not just with their bodies. For so many years, you've been told to go out and compete with your body, especially if you're a minority in America.
Right.
You started in slavery. You had to compete with your body out there to go out and produce for your owner. And it's the same thing in professional sports and in collegiate sports. You have to compete with your body to go out there and produce for your owner who is making hundreds of millions of dollars and billions in some situations, and college coaches who are making millions of dollars and the players are not being compensated. Parents don't look at that. Parents only look at that one guy who makes it to that's going to be my son next. We saw Dwyane Wade the other night at the draft lottery.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who's potential #1 pick overall in the NBA draft in 35 days when it's held. 35 days from now, somebody will probably pick Zion Williams #1 overall. But there's only one Zion Williams, only one millennial Zion Williams. Everything else after Zion Williams, they say, is a crapshoot.
Yep.
And everything else after the first 30 players selected, Charlton, there are no guaranteed contracts involved in that.
No.
These are players that are destined for the G League, Europe, Asia, to play professional basketball.
Yeah.
In 2 years, anybody that's not drafted, Charlton, no one will hear from them.
No one will hear from them. So for the parents that are out there pushing your kids so hard, let them have fun. It's supposed to be for fun, not because they're going to become the next multi-millionaire in sports. You can follow Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. You can follow us on the Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, also Comcast Xfinity Network. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, I think, Charlton, it's going to be a little California love tonight out there in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
You know, you got the Portland Trailblazers. Maybe they bring down some seafood. Well, they got seafood there.
They got seafood in the Bay.
You know, they can't get anybody sick on sushi, I guess would be the thing.
No.
But they're going to have to play physical tonight if they expect to stay in this game against the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
You know what you can expect from the Splash Brothers. They put down 62 points in that last game. But Portland was held to a dismal 34% from the floor shooting, Charlton.
Yep.
They're going to have to get that up to 45-48 if they expect to stay in this game tonight.
Well, I think Portland will play better, but it still may be a double-digit win for the Golden State Warriors. Speaking of double digits, every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America, and Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage all on their own. As we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.